This is Politics Today, and our focus is on Anambra State, which we are counting down just a few hours away, where Nigerians residents in Anambra State will head to the polls to decide exactly who will lead them for the next 4 years. And that's our attention tonight, everyone. We'll get to take a look at some of the angles and perspectives to the electoral process, from issues around logistics to security to issues around some of the concerns that have been raised by some election observers. There are issues as regards insecurity in the states, issues as to perhaps voter apathy, which has plagued Nigeria's elections for quite some time now. How will that play out at the polls tomorrow? Just to perhaps do our viewers some sort of reminder and background, only 2.8 million Nigerians in Anambra State registered for the elections, which is set to hold tomorrow. We understand that as of yesterday, the new INEC chairman, Professor Joash Amupito, disclosed to Nigerians that 98.8% of PVCs have been collected. And he says this perhaps has never happened before. So it's interesting to see how all of this will play out. There are also some concerns as regards inclusion and all of that. As we understand that the people even with disabilities in that state, only 3,456 registered for the election. Let's get some perspective this hour as we are joined by the Commissioner of Police, Election, Anambra State, Shogunle, who joins us live on the program. CP, thank you indeed for agreeing to talk to us on this very short notice. You were only deployed to Anambra State to head the election duty there by the IGP only 3 days ago. So you have only been on ground in Anambra State, I understand, for just 3 days. What have you seen and what have you observed so far?
Thank you very much. Good evening, and thank you for having me. Well, as you have stated, I've only been in Anambra State for 3 days, but the actual fact is that in addition to being the CP in charge of the election in Anambra State, I'm also the Commissioner of Police in charge of election planning, monitoring and evaluation for the whole Federation. And as a matter of fact, we've started the preparation for this Anambra election as far back as March of this year, knowing fully well that it's an off-cycle election. And in August of this year, I was on ground here in Anambra to conduct the by-election. And the by-election in August was used as a litmus test for this exam, for this elections. And certain things were put in place during this by-election, and which worked very well. And we are also planning to repeat those measures that were put in place in August during the by-election. So every adequate planning and preparations needed to be in place has been done. And as a matter of fact, we have even started implementing those plans that we have put in place to ensure that there is a peaceful, free and fair elections in Anambra State come 8th of November.
Well, CP Abayomi, the reports from some election observers is that out of the 21 local government areas in Anambra State, there's still a huge amount of security threat. I'm wondering how you're receiving some of these reports. I'm not sure I can lay my hands on some of the reports now, but that's the concern, the fact that security still remains a major threat when it has to do with elections in Anambra State. I wonder just how prepared you are to curb these issues around insecurity.
As I said earlier on in my opening remarks, we're fully prepared to have this election take place tomorrow. And regarding the high visibility of security presence that has been observed in Anambra State. You know, I told you we've started the preparation for this election for as far back as March of this year, and massive deployment has been made in Anambra, and the reason for this is to kind of being proactive, and we have also taken over all the spaces that some elements that tried or wanted to disrupt the election where they were occupying. Security forces, Nigerian police force, and other security agencies have taken over all those spaces. And maybe that's part of the reasons why we are having massive deployments in Anambra. Right. And I want to tell everyone in Anambra to see that massive deployment as a sign of confidence that they can come out freely to cast their vote without any fear of molestation.
It should be interesting to see. Confirm for us again the number of police officers deployed to Anambra State, 45,000? Is that the number?
No, there was no time we said 35,000.
No, 45.
It's a moving... Yes, that has increased now. That number has increased. I gave those figures Tuesday last week during a meeting at the INEC headquarters. But as a matter of fact, it is not a static figure. That has further increased because now we have other security agencies. They have also forwarded their own deployment. And when we add that to the number of police officers, it has increased greatly. And the reason for that, when you look at the number of polling units in Anambra State, we have over 5,000 polling units. And by the request from INEC, we are expected to have nothing less than 3 uniformed personnel in each of the polling units. So okay.
Yeah, just land on your points before my next question, please.
Okay.
No, go ahead and land on your point before my next question.
Oh, okay. So by the time you look at the number of polling units, over 5,000, and we're deploying nothing less than 3 officers in each of those polling units. Then we have collation centers across the wards. Then we are also having quick intervention units at strategic locations. You know, so by the time you put all these figures together, you see the need for these huge deployments.
So, can I ask you, from your visits to Anambra State, I mean, because I'm happy that you have informed us that you have been in the planning of these elections for quite some time now. So from the police point of view, I mean, we've heard from election observers, but from the police point of view, walk us through some of those flashpoints that the Nigeria Police Force has identified.
Yes, in the last 2 months or 3 months or thereabout, some flashpoints were identified, including Ihiala local government and some other bordering towns with Imo State, some forest in Imo. That was 3 months ago. And we had clearance operations, and those elements that posed threat to this election, some of them were arrested and some of them have been rounded up, and some of the implements they plan to use were also recovered. So as we speak, all those areas that were identified as flashpoints or areas of interest in the last 2 or 3 months, they are and we're all stakeholders, and elections will go on peacefully without any incidents in those places tomorrow.
Well, CP Shogunle, let's get to do our viewers some sort of perspective to understand just how unique Anambra State is. That state is bordered by about 5 states. It is bordered by Delta to the west, Imo and Rivers to the south, Enugu State to the east, and Kogi to the north. It shares borders with 5 states. And I think that this perhaps is a big concern for you and your team. Is that correct?
Not really, not really. The numbers of bordering states, it's not really a security issue. You know, what the important indices here are the business activities, commercial activities taking place in a place. You know, those are part of the things that that determines what happens security-wise, crime-wise in an area. And all those put in place, measures have been put in place to address those specific indices that could pose threats. And as I say, in the last 1 month, security has improved generally in the state because of measures, specific targeted measures put in place to address those threats.
All right. So in terms of restriction of movement, we are counting down to 12 a.m. where you'll get to enforce that restriction. Walk us through how you intend to achieve that. I mean, I know it's a regular thing that we get to see in this part of the world whenever we get to observe elections and all of that. But what's the update on that as regards the restriction of movement of residents of Anambra State?
Yes, tomorrow there's going to be total restriction on vehicular movement, which is going to start from 6 in the morning to 6 in the evening. And this restriction affects both intrastate, that is within Anambra State, and interstate movements. So that means anybody traveling to any part of Nigeria that wants to travel through Anambra State should take an alternative route, because the roads in Anambra State will be blocked as from 6 in the morning to 6 in the evening. So meaning even within Anambra State, apart from those that are on essential duties, journalists, press, observers, both foreign and local observers, then people on essential duties, nobody will be allowed to move about with vehicles. And as we know, the reason for this is to further ensure adequate security for this election, so that it will also prevent people who plan to move from one area to go and disrupt, so that they won't be able to move around freely. So in summary, the total restriction affects both interstate and intra-state vehicular movements tomorrow, Saturday.
Well, we look forward to it. CP Abayomi Shogunle, you have been engaging with heads of security. You've been having some sort of security meetings since your arrival there, we understand, but we must leave it here. Thank you indeed for your time on the program. Commissioner of Police in charge of the Anambra State governorship election, CP Abayomi Shogunle, thank you indeed for your time. Hopefully we get to experience a hitch-free elections tomorrow.
Thank you for having me.